Hello and welcome to my channel, The Danish Readaholic. Today I am doing my November wrap-up. So this video will be rather short because I didn't really get much reading done. I think I should just get on with the stats, then talk about the books, and then move on. So first up, I read 2 books this month. Very simple. Better than one. So my total page count came to 903, which I think is quite decent. Yay me! Both the books were by authors that I had read before, and I will get into that later because there is a reason for that. Both books were 5-star reads. Again, there is a reason for that. Let me just get to it. Both books were from the US, like both authors were from the US. Then we get into the genre, and as you can see by now, there is actually 3 books mentioned, and that is because I did have one DNF. And I'm also going to talk about that and why I DNF'd it. So, but the other 2 were fantasy, which is, you know, my most read genre, if you didn't know by now. And now we get to the type of book. Because as you can see, the 2 books that I managed to read were both rereads. The intended audience for both books were YA. Then we have the format, and both books were physical. Then we have the sources, and both books were from my own TBRs. And finally, both books were released prior to 2021. So I think with the stats out of the way, let's just talk about the books. I think I will start off with the book that I DNF'd, and then I will move on to the books that I actually finished. First up, we have my DNF, which is Where Rainbows End by Cecilia Ahern. This is an adult romance, I believe, and I just could not get into it whatsoever. It is the book that inspired the movie, or well, it's the book that the movie Love, Rosie is based on. And I love that movie, but I am really not sure what to do with this book, because right now I don't think I will ever read it, but I'm not the biggest fan of just giving it away. Maybe I'll give it to my mom if she wants it, and then if I eventually want to read it, I can do that. Something that kind of bothered me, or didn't bother me, but something that I wasn't the biggest fan of with this book was the way it was written. Everything is done in either letters, emails, text messages, any kind of texting, writing thing. That was how it was written, and I kinda, I don't know. Eventually I had to go back and be like, okay, who said that? Who texted that? Who texted that to who? And that was just, I don't want to say too much work because it's no work whatsoever, but I prefer to have it be like a regular written story where I can follow along, and then there's a line, and then she said that, and then they went to this place, but everything is totally like, oh my god, do you remember when that happened? And then I'm like, no, because I wasn't there. I guess some would find that really interesting, but to me it was just annoying. So I'm not sure I will give this a second go, but my reading taste might change, but I'm not sure that it will change into this. I don't really have too many comments about the next 2 books because they are rereads, and they're rereads of some of my favorites, so I've talked about them like a million times. We've got Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy. I reread this, and I did it with Jem over at Bookish Gems. She read it for the first time, and she liked it, and I am so happy that she liked it, and we are buddy reading the sequel now this month. I was just so happy that someone wanted to read this with me because it is just one of my all-time favorites. This was my first ever fairy loot, and I was just so happy that it was something that I really loved. And then almost all of the fairy loots that I've read so far have been books that I really enjoyed, so it's just, you know, Fantastic. Upon rereading this, I also realized that it's a lot more fast-paced than I remember it to be. Because I remember in the beginning, like when I read it for the first time, in the beginning I struggled so badly with getting into this book because I was like, nothing happens and blah 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 blah, but everything happens like really quickly. We follow obviously Elise, as I've mentioned before, Bastien and Sabine. Sabine is Elise's best friend, and Bastien is this dude who wants revenge on these bone criers. And Elise and Sabine are both. And then we follow Elise as she is going through her rite of passage, where she has to kill her one true love, that she then summons to this bridge. But then Bastien shows up and he wants to murder her. Like any good enemies to lovers, like if there isn't murder, then I don't want it. Or at least, you know, attempted murder. I've got issues. Actually, funny story. I recently read the sequel to the next book that I'm gonna show. Within the first few chapters, there was the one bed trope, and I was smiling and just kind of laughing at myself and being like, why are you this, like, what's wrong with you? And then my boyfriend looked at me, he was like, is it a good book? And I was like, do I explain it or do I just leave it and say, yes, it's a good book? I ended up explaining it and explaining the trope, and I was like, I've got issues, and he just looked at me and laughed. Reread, I gave it 5 stars. Again, still one of my favorites. I am so excited for the sequel. The other book that I read, Incendiary. I had forgotten so many things about this book. So many things. And I wish that I hadn't. But then again, I also got to experience a bunch of things for the first time. Like, I remember a lot in the beginning, but then when we follow Renata, who has been captured by the king because she is a robari, which basically means that she is a memory thief. And she was captured by the king, then she was freed by the rebels, and then something happens that makes her go back to the king, but not because she wants to help him, but because she wants revenge. And the stuff that happened while she was there, I did not remember a damn thing. I was like, what's she gonna do? And then I was like, well, I know how it ends, I just don't know how we get there. So I was so happy that I reread this before reading the sequel, because there were so many things that I had forgotten. This is still a 5-star. I don't know why I'm saying still, because I'm not sure I gave it 5 stars the first time, but it's a 5-star for me, and the characters in this are really great. Even though she's kind of an asshole, I do really like Margot. I love Nuria, which is a character that we meet when Renata is at the castle, and she's kind of like the only friend that Renata has there. I also really like Leo, who is also one of the only friends that she has. But the thing with this one is that Renata is kind of in doubt as to who she can trust within this realm, and honestly, I get that. So, yeah. Great book, and I'm so glad I reread it. So I just quickly want to address something as well. 2 things, actually. First thing, in regards to this, is that, as you can see, Illusionary is not amongst the books that I read, and that is simply because I did not get to finish it in time. So when we get to January, I will move a step back on the board, simply because that is a punishment. So no matter how many books I get to this month, I will move at least 1 step back. The second thing I wanted to address was actually more of a question, and that is because I want to do a Christmas haul to kind of show you guys what I've gotten for Christmas, but I am in doubt as to whether I should only show you books or if you would actually be interested in seeing everything that I've gotten for Christmas. So that is my question. Would you want to watch like a full-on Christmas haul or only a Christmas books? I think that is it for this video. I don't have any more comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments if you would rather have like a book haul or if it should be a Christmas gift haul. If you like this video, please hit the like icon, and if you want to see more of my bookish content, then please hit subscribe. And also, if you want to be notified every single time that I post, you can hit that little bell icon. That would just mean the world to me. And until I see you next time, bye!